You told us about your own personal loss associated with suicide and mental illness. What kind of questions were you left with as a result of that ordeal?
The big one is why. It was my cousin, and he grew up in a home very similar to mine. He had, some demons with just himself in general and trying to fit into society. He wasn't your typical personality, and he had a hard time not, in his mind, I think, being like everybody else. And so it became really easy to turn to other ways to cope with always feeling like the outsider at school, with his friends. It was just kind of a weird situation, and I don't think he knew how to fit in very well. So when he actually committed suicide, it was shocking in a lot of ways, because I guess I just thought, even though he wasn't real happy, I just never realized that was the extent to the internal demons, if you will, that he was dealing with.
Do you feel that most people are prepared to deal with these situations?
I don't think that most people are. I think, and generally, you think you would be. I think that my personal opinion is, I'm a relatively happy person, and I don't tend to look at the real negative side of things, so it's kind of foreign to me that other people do when they're depressed, because I just don't think that way. And so I think sometimes it's hard for someone on the outside looking in, because where you try to empathize with them, you really can't quite comprehend what those internal negative feelings are.
How adequately educated do you think people are to see the signs of suicide and depression?
I think we're somewhat educated from our own perspective. I'm just not sure how educated we are in truly recognizing it in other people. Part of that, I think, is because people that are depressed tend to mask it better than you would think, and the signs aren't always as visible. They always give you like clear-cut signs, and those are the things you look for, but sometimes people that are depressed can hide those better than you would think, and they're maybe not as obvious.
How do you think the system for suicide prevention could be improved for situations like this?
That's a tough one, because from my own personal experience, there were things that externally, could have been available to him, but he really, he would say he wasn't happy. He would say, just kind of general comments, but nothing that I would have clued in on anymore at the time than just, oh, he's just kind of grumpy and doesn't quite fit in. But when I was going through this with my family, I don't think there were as many things available as there are today. So I think people are maybe a little more aware of what some of the options are, and I don't think it's quite as big of a stigma to admit that you might need help to deal with and cope with depression. I'm not so sure at the time. I was a teenager at the time, so I'm not so sure it was real common that you could go get help, and that there were people that were really going to help you and not just make you feel worse about what was going on. So I think it's better now. I think it was really hard at the time for that kind of help.